The worst decision of my life began with $18.40. That was everything I had left when I decided to steal from Vincent Hale. At the time, I did not know his name. That was probably the only reason I had enough courage to do it. Rain had been falling over Manhattan since sunset, turning the sidewalks into mirrors and smearing every taxi light into streaks of yellow across the pavement. I stood beneath the awning of a closed pharmacy with my canvas bag against my chest, pretending I was waiting for someone. I was not. I was 26, unemployed, 11 days behind on rent, and carrying a final notice from my landlord that I had already read 6 times. My phone was at 7%. My checking account was nearly empty. Pride was becoming expensive. Then the doors of the hotel across the street opened, and he walked out. Tall, dark overcoat, charcoal suit underneath. No umbrella, even though 2 men behind him had one. He moved slowly, like the rain and traffic were things that adjusted themselves around him. A black sedan waited at the curb. One of the men opened its rear door. That was when I saw the wallet. Black leather, half visible inside his coat pocket. I told myself I needed enough for one night somewhere warm. Maybe dinner. Maybe a subway ride to my cousin's place in Brooklyn if she answered my calls. I told myself a man wearing a suit like that would never notice what I needed to survive. Desperation can make terrible ideas sound reasonable. I crossed with the crowd. My heartbeat drowned out the rain. 10 feet. 5. 2. I brushed his shoulder and whispered, "Sorry." My fingers closed around the wallet. I kept walking. He did not turn around. Nobody shouted. Nobody followed me. That should have frightened me. Instead, relief hit first. I made it 3 blocks before ducking beneath the awning of a shuttered bakery. My hands shook as I opened the wallet. No cash. Not $1. "You have got to be kidding me," I whispered. Inside were 3 things that made no sense together. A matte black access card with no company name. A small brass key worn smooth around the edges. And an old photograph turned face down. I almost flipped it over. Something stopped me. Maybe guilt finally arriving late. I closed the wallet and leaned against the brick wall, laughing once at the absurdity of it. I had risked everything for a rich man's collection of useless objects. Then my phone vibrated. Unknown number. I expected another collection notice. Instead, there was one message. "You should not have taken his wallet." Every muscle in my body went still. I looked toward the intersection. Nobody seemed interested in me. People hurried through the rain. Cars rolled past. Normal Manhattan. Normal night. Then another message appeared. "Do not open the photograph." I stared at the wallet in my hand. The rain suddenly sounded louder. Whoever had sent those messages knew what I had done. Worse, they knew exactly what was inside. And for the first time that night, I understood something I should have understood the moment I saw that man leave the hotel. I had not chosen an easy target. Somehow, I had stepped into a story that had already started before I arrived. I read the message 3 times before forcing myself to move. Standing under a bakery awning with a stolen wallet in my hand suddenly felt like the worst possible place to become memorable. I slipped the wallet inside my coat and started walking north, fast enough to look busy but not frightened. My phone vibrated again. I refused to look. At the next intersection, the light turned red, trapping me beside a crowd of strangers beneath umbrellas. That was when I saw him. Vincent Hale stood across the street beneath the gold lights of the hotel entrance. The black sedan was still at the curb. The 2 men remained several feet behind him, but Vincent was watching only me. I knew immediately that he knew. The strange part was that he did nothing. No shouting. No pointing. No dramatic pursuit through Manhattan. He simply waited. The light changed. People moved around me. I stayed still. Vincent crossed toward me with the calm patience of someone arriving for an appointment. I tightened my fingers around the wallet inside my coat. He stopped about 6 feet away. Up close, he looked younger than I had expected, maybe mid-30s, with dark hair, pale gray eyes, and the kind of stillness that made every movement around him seem unnecessarily loud. "I believe you have something of mine," he said. My mouth went dry. "I can explain." "Can you?" "Probably not well." His eyes flicked toward my coat pocket. I pulled out the wallet and held it toward him. "I am sorry." Vincent looked at it, but did not take it. "Did you open it?" I thought about the messages. "Yes." "The photograph?" "No." Something changed in his expression. Small. Almost invisible. "Good." My pulse jumped. "Why?" "Because some things are easier before you know what they mean." That was not remotely comforting. I extended the wallet again. Take it. Vincent removed a slim phone from inside the wallet, checked the screen, then slipped the phone into his coat. He left everything else in my hand. Keep it until tomorrow. I stared at him. Absolutely not. 9 o'clock. What happens at 9 o'clock? He reached into his coat and handed me a plain white business card. Hale Holdings. Park Avenue. No title beneath his name. You return the wallet. I am trying to return it now. Tomorrow. Why? Vincent glanced past me toward the traffic, then toward the rooftops across the street. It was subtle, but I noticed. He was not only watching me. He was watching everything. Because I want to know who contacts you next. Cold moved through me. You know about the messages? His gaze returned to mine. I know someone wanted you to take that wallet. I wanted to take it. Those are not the same thing. I shook my head. I do not understand. Neither do I. Somehow, hearing that from him frightened me more than if he had claimed to know everything. A black sedan rolled quietly toward the curb. One of his men opened the rear door. Vincent gestured toward it. I can have someone drive you somewhere safe. No. He accepted the answer immediately. Then stay somewhere public tonight. I looked at the business card, then at him. Are you calling the police? No. Why not? Because you are not the person I am worried about. He stepped toward the waiting car. 9 o'clock, Emily. My entire body went still. I had never told him my name. Vincent paused beside the open door. Be punctual. Then he disappeared into the sedan, leaving me under the city lights with his wallet, his secrets, and one terrifying question. If Vincent Hale had never met me before tonight, how did he know exactly who I was? I slept for exactly 43 minutes that night. The rest of the time, I sat in a 24-hour diner near Penn Station with Vincent Hale's wallet zipped inside my canvas bag and a cup of coffee growing cold between my hands. No more messages came. That somehow made things worse. At 8:52 the next morning, I walked into Hale Holdings wearing the least wrinkled clothes I owned and the expression of someone pretending she had not spent the night wondering whether she had accidentally stepped into somebody else's secret. The lobby rose 3 stories above me in glass, pale stone, and brushed brass. Nobody hurried. Nobody raised their voice. Even the security desk looked expensive. I approached the receptionist and placed Vincent's business card on the counter. I am here to return something. She looked at the card, then at me. Emily Carter? My stomach tightened. Apparently everyone knows me now. She smiled professionally. Mr. Hale is expecting you. A private elevator carried me to the 42nd floor. When the doors opened, a man in a navy suit introduced himself as Daniel Mercer, Vincent's chief of staff. You are 6 minutes early. Is that good? With Mr. Hale, it is survival. I could not tell whether he was joking. Vincent's office occupied the corner of the floor, surrounded by glass and morning sunlight. He stood behind a dark wood desk reading a document. Same calm expression. Same impossible stillness. I walked in, removed the wallet from my bag, and placed it in front of him. There. We are finished. Vincent glanced at the wallet. Are we? Yes. He opened a folder and slid it toward me. My name was printed across the first page. Beneath it were 4 words that made me laugh out loud. Personal assistant to Vincent Hale. No, you have not read it. I do not need to read 90 pages to recognize insanity. It is 12 pages. That does not improve it. Vincent sat down. 90 days. Salary, health insurance, transportation allowance, and temporary housing assistance. My eyes stopped on the salary. It was more than I had made in the previous year. I hated that he noticed. You know about my apartment? Yes. My job? Yes. My bank account? Vincent paused. I know enough. I closed the folder. That is deeply unsettling. I imagine it is. Why would you hire someone who stole from you? He leaned back slightly. Because everyone I pay tells me what they think I want to hear. You already demonstrated that fear does not improve your judgment. That sounded almost like an insult. It was an observation. I looked toward the windows. 42 floors below us, Manhattan moved like nothing unusual had happened. What about whoever sent those messages? That is my concern. You told me someone wanted me to take your wallet. I said I believe someone did. And now you want me sitting outside your office every day? Vincent's eyes held mine. I want you somewhere I can determine whether they contact you again. At least he admitted it. So this is not charity. I do not recommend confusing me with charity. I opened the contract again. 90 days. Enough money to breathe. Enough time to rebuild. I hated how much I needed it. I have conditions. Of course you do. You pay for my time, not my life. You do not decide where I go after work. You do not contact my family. You do not treat me like property because I made one desperate mistake." Vincent was silent for a moment. Then he nodded. "Agreed. And I am calling you Vincent." Daniel, standing near the doorway, suddenly found the floor fascinating. Vincent's expression barely changed. "Anything else?" I picked up the pen. "Yes. If you lie to me, I walk." For the first time, his calm slipped just enough for me to notice. Then he extended his hand across the desk. 90 days, Emily." I looked at his hand, then signed my name instead. 90 days. I thought I had just accepted a job. I would eventually understand that I had accepted a front row seat to a secret Vincent Hale had spent years trying to uncover. By my fourth morning at Hale Holdings, I had learned that Vincent drank black coffee, Daniel carried 3 phones, and nobody on the 42nd floor ever used the chair to Vincent's right. I had also learned that becoming a personal assistant did not magically make me good at being one. At 8:15, I walked into Vincent's office carrying 2 coffees and handed him the wrong cup. He took one sip, looked at me, and said, "Sugar. You are welcome. I drink it black. Then today you are experiencing personal growth." Daniel made a suspicious coughing sound behind me. Vincent stared at me for 2 seconds before switching cups without another word. That was how most of our mornings worked. I made mistakes. Vincent noticed everything. I refused to be intimidated. Somehow, neither of us quit. The stranger part was everyone else. People lowered their voices when Vincent entered an elevator. Executives checked his expression before answering questions. Security personnel appeared before meetings I had never been told required security. Cars waited downstairs before I requested them. Doors opened before Vincent reached them. Nobody announced his power. The building simply behaved as though it already knew. Friday afternoon, Daniel handed me a folder. Board meeting. Conference room A. Take notes and do not interrupt. Why would you assume I would interrupt? He looked at me. Experience. The conference room had floor-to-ceiling windows, a walnut table, and 12 people who looked like they had never purchased anything without consulting an attorney. Vincent stood at the far end, speaking quietly with an older executive. I found the only empty chair and sat down. The room stopped breathing. I looked up. Daniel was frozen beside the door. A woman across from me slowly lowered her pen. "What?" I whispered. Daniel approached. "Emily, perhaps you should sit somewhere else." I glanced around. There is nowhere else. We can bring another chair. There is already a chair. His eyes moved toward Vincent. That was when I realized everyone else's had too. Vincent turned. His gaze landed on me, then on the seat beneath me. Something unreadable passed across his face. I started to stand. Apparently, I have committed another corporate crime. "Sit down," Vincent said. I paused. Daniel cleared his throat. "Vincent, that seat has remained empty for 7 years." The room became even quieter. Vincent looked at the chair for a long moment. "I am aware. I can move," I said. His eyes returned to mine. "No." Then he looked around the table. "Let her sit." Nobody argued. The meeting began, but I barely heard the first few minutes. 7 years. An empty chair nobody touched. A rule nobody had explained because everyone except me already understood it. Later, after the executives left, I stayed behind gathering my notes. Vincent stood by the windows, Manhattan glowing beneath the late afternoon sun. "What is special about this chair?" I asked. "Nothing." Daniel nearly developed a medical condition when I sat in it. Daniel is dramatic. Daniel has the emotional range of a parking meter. That earned the smallest hint of a smile. I waited. "Who used to sit here?" Vincent's expression changed. The warmth disappeared. "Someone I trusted." "What happened?" "I learned to leave the chair empty." He walked toward the door. 7:30 Monday morning. Comfortable shoes. "Why?" Vincent stopped without turning around. "Because you keep asking what kind of world you walked into." He glanced back at me. "On Monday, I am going to show you." Monday morning, Vincent did not take me deeper into his world. He took me to a neighborhood where nobody seemed impressed by his name. At 7:30, a black sedan collected us outside Hale Holdings and carried us downtown through pale morning traffic. Vincent wore a dark coat instead of a suit jacket, and for nearly 20 minutes he answered emails without explaining where we were going. "You said you were showing me your world," I finally said. "I am. Your world has a suspicious number of traffic lights." "Patience. Not one of my professional strengths." I noticed. We stopped outside Harbor House, a narrow brick community center with a faded blue awning and children's drawings taped inside the front windows. I stared at the building. This is your mysterious world. Vincent opened the car door. Part of it. Inside, the air smelled like coffee, printer, paper, and cinnamon oatmeal. A gray-haired woman in a red cardigan spotted Vincent and immediately pointed at the clock. 3 minutes late. Vincent checked his watch. Traffic. Manhattan has had traffic since before you were born. Good morning, Mrs. Donnelly. I nearly laughed. Nobody at Hale Holdings spoke to Vincent like that. Here, nobody seemed afraid of him. Children waved. Volunteers asked him questions. A maintenance worker handed him a list of repairs. Vincent listened to every person without checking his phone once. In the computer room, 20 new laptops sat unopened on folding tables. You bought these, I said. Hale Holdings did. Mrs. Donnelly passed behind us carrying folders. He bought them. Vincent gave her a look. She ignored it. Later, while we were leaving, Daniel called. Vincent put the phone on speaker while reviewing his schedule. Marcus Reed needs Friday off, Daniel said. His mother is having surgery in Philadelphia. Vincent stopped walking. Is the insurance issue resolved? No. They delayed authorization again. How much? Daniel gave him the number. Vincent answered immediately. Cover it. I looked at him. The entire bill. He glanced at me. Did Daniel mention another bill? Does Marcus know? No. Why? Because he would spend the next 10 years trying to repay me. Vincent returned to the call. Daniel, process it through the Employee Assistance Fund. Keep my name out of it. That evening, I found Vincent alone in his office after 10. His dinner sat untouched beside a stack of documents. The city glittered beyond the glass, but the room itself felt strangely empty. You know food works better when you eat it, I said. I am familiar with the concept. I placed tomorrow's schedule on his desk. My eyes caught the old photograph beside his hand, the same one from the wallet. Still face down. Vincent noticed. Do not ask. I was not going to. You were. Eventually. He almost smiled. Then his expression settled. Why did you take the wallet, Emily? There was no accusation in his voice. I looked toward the windows. Because $18.40 was all I had left. Because I was scared. Because for 5 stupid seconds, I convinced myself someone wearing a $1,000 coat would never miss what I needed. Vincent said nothing. I am not proud of it. Desperation makes people choose between bad options. I looked back at him. That sounded almost understanding. His eyes lowered to the photograph. I have known desperate people. For the first time, I understood why his silence felt different from everyone else's. People around Vincent were quiet because they feared his power. Vincent was quiet because trust had once cost him something. And somewhere between Harbor House and that lonely office, the man I had reduced to an expensive suit became much harder to judge. 5 days later, I discovered Vincent had lied to me without technically saying anything false. It happened because Daniel asked me to update security credentials for a private conference scheduled the following week. I was comparing access records when one code looked familiar. Matte black card. Silver identification strip. Same series as the card I had found inside Vincent's wallet. I stared at the database until my coffee went cold. The card had been deactivated 48 hours before the night I took it. I checked twice, then a third time. At 9:20 that evening, I walked into Vincent's office without knocking. He looked up from his desk. You are still here. So are you. I placed the printed access record in front of him. Explain this. His eyes moved across the page. Nothing changed in his face, which told me everything. You already knew. Yes. The card in your wallet was useless before I ever touched it. Correct. Then why were you carrying it? Vincent closed the folder beside him. Sit down. I am comfortable standing. A long silence passed between us. Finally, he said, the wallet was bait. My stomach tightened. For who? Someone inside my organization has been accessing information they should not have. Schedules. Private meetings. Building credentials. I needed to know who would try to obtain something they believed still had value. I thought about the brass key, the photograph, the anonymous messages. And then I appeared. Yes. Was I supposed to? No. His answer came immediately. You were never part of the plan. But someone wanted me there. Vincent stood and walked toward the windows. Manhattan glowed below us, bright and indifferent. Security reviewed the hotel footage. Your route changed approximately 20 minutes before you reached me. I was walking around because I had nowhere to go. I know. Then what changed? He turned. A woman outside a subway entrance told you the downtown platform was closed. I remembered her. Red umbrella. Friendly voice. She had pointed me toward the hotel district. It was raining. I did not question her. The platform was not closed. Cold settled beneath my ribs. Vincent continued. Then a delivery truck blocked the sidewalk 2 blocks later, pushing pedestrians toward the hotel entrance. My departure was delayed 6 minutes by a schedule change that nobody on my team requested. You think someone arranged all of that? I think someone understood where 2 desperate decisions could intersect. I shook my head. You knew this when you hired me? Not all of it. How much? He hesitated. That hesitation hurt more than the answer. Enough to know keeping you close was safer. I stared at him. Safer for who? Both of us. That was not your decision to make. No. The admission surprised me, but I made it anyway. I thought about the contract, the apartment assistance, Harbor House, the coffee, the empty chair. Every moment suddenly had another shadow behind it. So I was never really your assistant. Vincent's expression tightened. You were my assistant. I was evidence. At first, you were a question I could not answer. And now, he looked directly at me. Now I know you had nothing to do with whoever planned that night. When did you know? Silence. Too long. My chest tightened. Vincent, within the first week. I almost laughed, but there was nothing funny left. Then why did you keep me here? His gaze shifted toward the face-down photograph on his desk. For the first time since I had met him, Vincent Hale looked like a man searching for an answer instead of controlling one. Because whoever moved you into my path knew exactly how desperate you were, he said quietly. And until I knew why they chose you, I was not willing to let you disappear where I could not protect you. I stared at him across the office. You promised that if you lied to me, I could walk. Vincent's eyes returned to mine. I remember. I reached for the employee badge clipped to my coat. And for the first time, he looked afraid of what I might choose. I unclipped the badge slowly and placed it on Vincent's desk. The tiny click of plastic against wood sounded louder than it should have. Vincent looked at it, then at me. Emily, do not. My voice stayed steady, which surprised me. You knew within a week that I had nothing to do with this, and you still let me believe I was here because I earned the job. You did earn it. That is not the point. I know. Do you? I stepped back from his desk. You knew where I lived. You knew I had lost my job. You knew I had almost no money. You knew someone had deliberately moved me into your path, and you decided I did not deserve to know any of that. Vincent's jaw tightened. I thought knowing would put you at greater risk. You thought. You decided. You controlled. He said nothing. Protection without choice is still control, Vincent. The words stayed between us. For once, he had no answer ready. I picked up my canvas bag from the chair. I am leaving. His eyes moved to the door, then back to me. There are still things we do not understand. Then figure them out. Whoever arranged that night may still be watching you. Then tell me what I need to know and let me decide what to do with it. Vincent came around the desk, but stopped several feet away. He did not block the door. Daniel can arrange somewhere secure for you to stay. No. A car at least. No. His expression hardened for half a second, then softened into something I had never seen on him before. Acceptance. All right. I almost hated him more for saying it. That is it. What would you prefer? I do not know. An argument. An order. Something that proves I was right about you. Vincent looked toward the employee badge on his desk. If leaving is your choice, I will not take that choice from you. My anger lost its footing. You could stop me. Yes. But you will not. No. I reached the office door. Emily. I turned. Vincent removed a playing card from his wallet and placed it on the desk beside my badge. My private number. Not the office. Not Daniel. If anything feels wrong, call me. You are still trying to protect me. I am trying to give you an option. That difference mattered more than I wanted it to. I left without taking the card. The 42nd floor felt strangely quiet as I crossed toward the elevator. Daniel stood when he saw my bag. He looked toward Vincent's office, then at me. Do I want to know? Probably not. The elevator arrived. I stepped inside. The doors were almost closed when my phone vibrated. Unknown number. My stomach dropped. A photograph loaded onto the screen. The same old picture from Vincent's wallet, except this time it was face up. A much younger Vincent stood outside Harbor House beside a fair-haired woman wearing a volunteer badge. Someone had drawn a red circle around her face. Beneath the photograph was a single message. Ask him why Rebecca Vale's brother still works for him. The elevator began descending. I stared at the name. Vale. I had seen it before. Thomas Vale handled internal security for Hale Holdings. He approved visitor access. He reviewed private schedules. He had been one of the first people Daniel introduced me to. My thumb hovered over Vincent's number in my contacts, but I stopped. If the message was true, someone close to Vincent had been hiding in plain sight. And if it was false, someone wanted me to believe exactly that. The elevator numbers fell toward the lobby. 40, 39, 38. For the first time since meeting Vincent, I understood the one advantage I had that he did not. I trusted nobody in his world. And maybe that meant I could see the person he never thought to question. I did not call Vincent. Not yet. Instead, I spent the next 2 hours in a crowded coffee shop near Bryant Park with my laptop open, the photograph enlarged on my screen, and the brass key from Vincent's wallet resting beside my coffee. Rebecca Vale had volunteered at Harbor House for nearly a decade. Public records showed that she had died 12 years earlier after a sudden illness. Thomas Vale was her younger brother. 6 months after Rebecca died, Thomas joined Hale Holdings. None of that proved betrayal. It only proved history. Then I noticed something in the photograph. Behind Rebecca and the younger Vincent was a wall of old brass storage boxes inside Harbor House. Each box had a tiny numbered lock. I looked down at the key. A number had been stamped into its edge so faintly I had missed it before. 217. By 10 that night, I was standing inside Harbor House, while Mrs. Donnelly stared at the key in my palm. "Where did you get that?" she asked. "Vincent's wallet." Her expression changed. That belonged to Rebecca. She led me downstairs to an old records room that smelled like dust and cardboard. Most of the brass boxes had been removed years ago, but number 217 remained behind a filing cabinet. The key turned. Inside was a sealed envelope, several old photographs, and a small notebook filled with dates, initials, and handwritten access codes. I did not understand all of it, but one pattern was impossible to miss. The initials TV appeared beside schedule changes stretching back years. I photographed every page and called Daniel. "I need you to check something without telling Thomas." Silence. Then, "Where are you?" "Harbor House." "Emily, you resigned 3 hours ago." "I have had a complicated evening." I sent him the photographs. 5 minutes later, Daniel called back. His voice had changed. "Some of these dates match unexplained access changes in our archived records." "How many?" "Enough." Then I remembered tomorrow's calendar. Vincent had an 11:30 meeting at a private conference center near Riverside Drive. I had not scheduled it. "Who added the Riverside meeting?" I asked. Keyboard clicks. Silence. "Thomas." My stomach tightened. "Cancel it. I need authorization." "Then give me Vincent." He answered on the first ring. "Emily, do not go to Riverside tomorrow." A pause. "Tell me why." I explained the photograph, the key, the box, the notebook. Vincent did not interrupt. Once, when I finished, his voice was quieter. "Rebecca kept records because she trusted paper more than people. Apparently, she had good instincts." "Where are you now?" "Still at Harbor House." "Stay there." That sounded like an order. Another pause. "Please stay there." I almost smiled. Better. By midnight, Daniel had verified enough irregularities to suspend Thomas's access and turn the records over for an independent investigation. No accusations without evidence. No dramatic confrontation. Just doors quietly closing around a man Vincent had trusted for years. Vincent arrived at Harbor House shortly after 12:30. He came alone. I was sitting at a folding table beneath fluorescent lights when he walked in. I slid Rebecca's notebook toward him. He did not touch it immediately. "You saw what I did not," he said. "Because you trusted him." "Yes. And I did not trust anyone." Vincent looked at me. "I hired you because I thought keeping you close would protect you." I leaned back. "And tonight?" His gaze dropped to the notebook. "Tonight you protected me from the one thing power cannot solve." "What is that?" "A blind spot." For once, Vincent Hale did not look like the most powerful man in the room. He looked like someone forced to reconsider everything he believed about loyalty. And for the first time, I was not standing beside him because he had put me there. I was there because I had chosen to come back. 3 weeks passed without a single call from Vincent Hale. No black sedan appeared outside my new apartment in Queens. No expensive flowers arrived with mysterious cards. No message asked me to reconsider. For the first few days, I kept checking my phone anyway. Then I realized what his silence meant. Vincent was finally doing the one thing I had asked him to do from the beginning. He was letting me choose. The investigation into Thomas continued through lawyers and independent auditors, far away from me. Daniel sent one brief message confirming that the records from Rebecca's box had helped uncover years of unauthorized schedule changes and access manipulation. Nothing dramatic, just facts finally finding daylight. I found a small apartment with a window facing an alley, bought a second-hand table, and started applying for jobs. My bank account was no longer $18.40. My life was becoming ordinary again. I should have been relieved. Instead, on a bright Tuesday morning, I found myself standing in the lobby of Hale Holdings with Vincent's black wallet in my hand. The receptionist smiled. "Good morning, Emily. Please tell me everyone here has finally stopped knowing where I am. I make no promises." The elevator carried me to the 42nd floor. Daniel looked up when the doors opened. "You are late." "I do not work here." "Then you are extremely early." I smiled and walked toward Vincent's office. He was standing by the windows when I entered, reading a document. He looked up. For once, surprise reached his face before he could hide it. "Emily." I crossed the room and placed the wallet on his desk. The black card was inside. The photograph was inside. The brass key was not. Mrs. Donnelly had asked to keep it with Rebecca's records at Harbor House, where it belonged. "Debt paid," I said. Vincent looked at the wallet. "There was never a debt. You could have mentioned that the morning you hired me. You would not have believed me." "Probably not." He opened a drawer and removed a cream-colored envelope. "This is for you." I unfolded the papers inside. Director of Community Partnerships, Hale Holdings Foundation. Harbor House was listed first among several neighborhood programs. Then I noticed the reporting structure. Board of Directors. Not Vincent Hale. I looked up. "You would not be my boss. I thought you might consider that a benefit. You hate giving up control." "I am learning." Slowly. Painfully. I tried not to smile. "Why me?" Vincent glanced toward the city. "Because you notice people before you notice power. Because you question things everyone else accepts. And because Harbor House needs someone who will argue with me when I am wrong." That sounds exhausting. For me, certainly. I set the offer on his desk. "And if I say no?" He answered without hesitation. "Then you leave, and I wish you well. No condition. No pressure. Just a choice." My eyes moved. Toward the conference table. The chair to Vincent's right was still empty. "Nobody has sat there?" "No." I walked over, pulled it out, and sat down. Vincent watched me quietly. "Is that a yes?" "It means we negotiate." A faint smile appeared. Instead of taking the seat at the head of the table, Vincent sat across from me. That small decision told me more than any promise could have. I once believed power meant having enough money to replace whatever someone took from you. Vincent taught me that was wrong. Real power was knowing when not to hold on. And trust was giving someone every reason to leave, then respecting them enough to let staying be their choice.